Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back. Um, I know we are all moaning about this lockdown going on, and I know tobacco is few and far between, but let's keep it up for about 2 weeks, and hopefully things change and we can get back to normal civilization and enjoying our tobacco as we go. Um, so, what I'm going to be doing is today we're going to be chatting a little bit about cake formation and carbon cake layering. So, to be honest with you, what we're going to be doing today is more regarding um, new pipe smokers. So first time pipe smokers. We're going to be learning a little bit more about what carbon caking is and how to do it and why you would want to do it. But please don't think that I'm only focusing on first time pipe smokers. I'm just here talking in general. So I personally did this after smoking for many years, but I just think if you're a new pipe smoker and you're coming into the whole situation of trying this, it's a fantastic way to go. But if you're an old pipe smoker, like I think most of us are, try this and see how it works for you. So, um, first thing, I am not an expert in any way. I do not claim to be an expert. This is just my personal opinion and my personal feelings and what I've done. So, first thing we need to decide is, and what we need to describe is, what is a cake layer or carbon layer? So, what the carbon or cake layer is every time you smoke your tobacco, sorry, I don't know what went wrong there, but every time you smoke tobacco, you've got these sugars that's inside the tobacco. And every time you light your pipe and there's heat, you'll normally find that the sugars are released, and that's what creates the carbon. Okay, that's what forms this cake layer around your bowl. Now, okay, but why would you want this carbon layer? Why would you want this stuff to get stuck onto your bowl? You don't want things to just sit there. Okay, well, let's think about it this way. Before I get into that, what could I what could I do to create this carbon layer? Okay, so in my opinion, and what I've seen works quite well, is doing the different quarter methods of smoking your pipe. So I do quarter bowl, half bowl, three-quarter bowl, and then I take it from there. Okay? And what I would do is I would take a brand new pipe and I would literally smoke it a quarter bowl 6 times. Now I've got a pipe here. I'm hoping you could be able to see this. I think it's too dark for the screen, but I will show you a little bit later. I've taken some photos. But I only pack my bowl a quarter of the way. So only about to there. And then I smoke it. Then after I smoked it about 6 times like that, I'll then pack it half and I'll smoke it 6 times. After I smoked it 6 times like that, I'll do a three-quarter bowl, smoke it 6 times like that, and then from there on I have my full bowls as I want. Okay, but now this is a great way and it's a bit of a taxing way. So here's why it's taxing. You kind of have to remember how many times you smoke your pipe. And that sometimes takes away the enjoyment of smoking a pipe. Because now I have to remember, have I smoked it 3 times? Have I smoked it 4 times? Now, the amount of times doesn't really make it a difference. I know I do it for 6 times and I try and keep like a little bit of a log for that. I don't go and jot everything down in a book, but I do take a log. And if you smoke it now 6 times a quarter or 10 times a quarter, that's completely up to you. But I try and keep the amounts the same. So I do 6 of a quarter, then I do 6 of half, then I do 6 of 3/4, and then I smoke it from there on. Now, why? Why would you only smoke it a quarter bowl? Why don't you just, as you get your first pipe, pack it to the brim and hit it? There's nothing wrong with that. And you honestly can do that. Just give me a second. I just want to mute everyone's mics quickly. Sorry about that, guys. As people come in, I'm just going to try and mute them just to carry on. Otherwise, it just takes the focus away, and sometimes I hear myself echoing. So, as a first-time smoker, it's much more enjoyable to smoke your pipe a quarter. Now, why do I say that? A lot of people buy their tobaccos. I do apologize for the noise in the background. My wife is on her way out, and I will just give her a minute or so as she's going out, and maybe I can just talk over her. Can everybody still hear me fine? Okay, great. I'm going to carry on then. Um, what I've noticed, and especially with myself as well, when I bought my first pipe, I said, you know what, I'm so excited to smoke this pipe. I fill it to the brim and I go for it. But now someone has told me that when you do smoke a pipe, you always need to make sure that you smoke it right to the end. That's fine. Can I tell you, after the first time that I smoked a pipe and I smoked it right down to the bottom, I was physically ill. I was exhausted. I didn't enjoy the taste anymore. And when I started, it was delicious. I enjoyed smoking the pipe. But the amount of effort that it took me just to get to the bottom of the pipe was immense. And I kept on relighting it. I kept on getting it too hot, and then it was too cold, and then it died, and then I had to relight it, and then I had all this ash, and I had to keep doing this over and over again because I knew that I had to get it to the bottom of the bowl, and that killed me. Um, Only later on discovered that you don't really have to smoke it to the bottom of the bowl. It's just good practice. Now, why do you smoke it to the bottom of the bowl? It's to get that cake layer. Oh, seems like my roads are busy today. Um, So I've noticed that when a lot of people do their first pipe and they smoke it from top to bottom, they've normally got a head rush or they're nauseous or they're lightheaded or something like that, and it just doesn't always work. Another thing that I've noticed is a lot of people take their tobacco, they put it in the pipe, they smoke it, and then it gets wet because it's new tobacco. They build up moisture. They've got this dollar. They've got uh, uh, um, I can't think of what it's called now. Um, like that slurping noise, which has completely left my brain now. I don't know why. Um, and it just isn't pleasurable. Okay, and especially when it gets to your aromatics. Now let's face it, 90% of the people that start smoking their pipes smoke it with an aromatic, normally something like a cherry flavor or something, and that is automatically more moist. And that's when they get all that dottle at the bottom and the wetness, and they struggle to keep it alight, and it's more effort than anything else. So, oh, the gurgling. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say just now, is gurgling. Um, what I've noticed is I personally struggled to get a nice even cake layer when I was smoking my pipe. And I felt like there has to be a better way, and I tried to speak to different people, and no one could always assist me with what's the best way of getting a good smoke and a good cake layer. So this is where this all came from. So then someone explained to me about the quarter, half, three-quarter, and then full bowl method. Now, when I started, I was sitting in anticipation because I like smoking my bowl from the top to the bottom, and I enjoy the time that it takes me to smoke it. I'm not someone that wants a quick 10-minute smoke. I want to sit for the 45 minutes or an hour and a half, enjoying every second of my pipe. So why would I only have a quarter bowl? Well, what I can tell you is I took all of my pipes. I think at that time I didn't have a lot. I think I had about 4 or 5. I took my 5 pipes, I cleaned them out completely until I could see the actual briar or the wood, and then I said, okay, now we're going to do a quarter smoke. What I liked about this is I could have 6 or 5 different smokes throughout the day. Yes, I used different pipes every time. So I smoked this one for a quarter, then I smoked the next one a quarter, then I smoked the next one a quarter, and I could do that throughout. Now, I have to admit to you, when I smoked each of my pipes for a quarter way, it always left me wanting more. And that's what I found was the difference between packing a full bowl and a quarter bowl. That quarter bowl always left me wanting more and made me excited to get to the next smoke. And it also made me excited for tomorrow when I knew, okay, I can smoke my pipe again because it's sat down and it's rested for long enough. And then I could do a little quick session smoking here. I could put the bowl away. I could go to my next pipe, smoke that. And that was a very enjoyable way to do it because you sometimes have a favorite pipe. And you'll find that your hand normally goes to a certain pipe more often than the others. And this forced me to smoke all of my pipes, which once again I loved because I remembered why I bought certain pipes and why I enjoyed them. Okay, so why? Why do you want this carbon cake layer? What's the purpose of it? The first thing is it protects the briar. You don't want to have this hot ember, especially as a first-time smoker. You don't want this hot ember on the briar where eventually it's going to cause a burnout or a blowout. And then, for those of you who don't know, when you've got a blowout, it normally is around here or here where the pipe actually makes a new hole. And you can pretty much then throw your pipe away unless you've got someone that can restore it nicely. But your pipe is basically damaged. Now, you're trying to not get it to that bad reputation or disaster that you don't want it in. So that is why you've got this carbon layer. The carbon layer actually has a layer around it that absorbs the heat. Okay, and I'm actually going to get to that a little bit later when I go back to it. The other thing is it's also there to absorb moisture. Okay, so when you are smoking your pipe, you tend to build up moisture, especially your aromatics, okay? And that's why you get the dotzel, that's why you got your gurgling, all these things, because as you are lighting your pipe, it causes heat, which causes a little bit of evaporation, and there's moisture involved, and that's where you get your dotzel and your water coming from. The cake layer actually absorbs some of that moisture, once again, leaving you as a better smoke. Now, let's get back to that quarter bowl for a moment. If I've only got a quarter bowl that I'm going to smoke, that amount of smoking that I do there actually doesn't build up as much moisture. So now automatically I'm enjoying my pipe more without getting all of this moisture and gurgling and dottle, all these things. So that is why I would do it a quarter way when I'm smoking it. And then obviously also when you're smoking your aromatics, that helps. Okay, now you've got this cherry tobacco, you want to have this flavor. When you're smoking it, it absorbs a little bit more of the moisture and you're getting a little bit more of the taste. Now, I actually thought about this for a while and I've actually seen how this works. I don't know how many of you have got kettle braais. So something like a Weber, for example. Now, when you are braaiing in your Weber, you end to get ash. So you've got your charcoal, you've got your ash, and every time you braai, there's a little bit of ash build up in the kettle. Now, what most experts will actually tell you is when you are braaiing, before you actually even get to your braai, you need to make sure to remove that ash layer. Why do you remove the ash layer? It's because the ash is actually absorbing some of that heat. Now, when you're braaiing, you want the heat. That is why you're braaiing in the Weber. And that is why you close the lid to get that whole convection oven thing going. When you've got ash around the bottom that you've left there for a couple of days or a couple of times, it's got this ash buildup, and then you are reducing the amount of heat that you've got in your convection oven. Now, when it comes to pipe smoking, we want to do the reverse. We don't want all of that heat. Yes, you need an ember to get your pipe going and to keep it lit, but you don't want all of that heat. You want some of the heat to be absorbed into the cake layer and not directly onto your briar. I hope that I'm making a little bit of sense. Are there any questions at this stage before I carry on? Okay, I see a lot of head shaking. Then I'm going to carry on. Once again, guys, if there are any questions, anything you want to add, please just shout. You don't have to wait for me to stop. Just go into it. Okay, so how do I get this cake layer? Now, firstly, like I said to you, quarter, half, three-quarter, full bowl smokes. And I know I've said that a couple of times, and I'm probably going to mention it a couple of times more, but that's about the best way to do it. So what I would suggest to you is take your pipe, pack it quarter. Now, if you're a first-time smoker, you are obviously going to have a lot of other difficulties, but at least when you've got a quarter of a smoke, you're not wasting tobacco. You don't have this full bowl, and then you throw out a full bowl of tobacco, which when you noticed, hang on, I didn't even smoke half of it. What happened? Oh, you've built up moisture, you've built up this, you got to throw it away. So when you've got a quarter bowl, and you notice that you've made a mistake, you're only throwing a little bit of tobacco away, which is great, okay? Not saying throwing away tobacco is great, but at least you're not wasting tobacco. That's the first thing about a quarter bowl. The next thing is you're enjoying your smoke more, okay? Now, as a seasoned pipe smokers, like most people are on this channel and that are going to be watching the YouTube, when you're doing this, you're actually reteaching yourself how to smoke a pipe. And I find that that's actually quite amazing because we've all got our own ways of how we pack it. There are so many different ways and techniques of how to pack a pipe and how to light it and how to tamp it and how to. But when you're starting with a quarter bowl, you're actually reteaching yourself how to do that. And what I've noticed is when I smoke a full bowl, I've got a certain way of I pack it, and sometimes it will die out. You know, it's natural because you make holes and all these things. When I pack my bowl a quarter way, I pack it perfectly every time, and it's just the way it happens. When I go to half, I've noticed that already I know how to pack my quarter way, so I pack that perfectly. Now I got my half, and I've got another perfect smoke. Then when I go to 3/4, I get another perfect smoke. And then when I do my full bowls, I get perfect smokes every single time. And as soon as I notice that I have inconsistencies in my smoke, I stop and I start back at a quarter. And it reteaches me how to get that perfect smoke the way I enjoy it. Now, when you are going to be smoking a quarter bowl, you smoke it as normal. You get your first light or your false light, you tamp it. You then relight it and you enjoy it and you tamp it every now and then. And trying not to tamp as often as you normally would. As soon as you find yourself tamping too often, it means that you're not packing your pipe correctly. So now, once again, you're teaching yourself how to pack a pipe. And then you just smoke it until it's completely finished, until you see, okay, you know what, I'm not getting any of that burn left anymore. What I've also noticed about a quarter pipe is when I smoke it, I actually feel the heat at the bottom. And that is something that I almost never feel when I pack a full bowl. When I pack a full bowl, when I normally get here to, let's say, just below a quarter, I find that my pipe keeps dying eventually just because you're not getting, you've got that dot on, you've got some moisture, and you've got all these things, and you've packed it in a certain way. So most of your heat is on the side. You never get the heat at the bottom. When I pack at quarter, I often get the heat at the bottom, meaning that I've smoked my pipe right to the bottom. And that is what you want when you're trying to get the perfect cake layer. I know that I'm speaking a lot about quarter ways, but I'm trying to explain that while getting to the cake layer. So I do apologize if I'm going a bit of a roundabout way. So now, okay, so what do you do? Now, guys, you'll have to excuse me. What I'm going to try and do is I'm actually going to try and share my screen with you. And I'm hoping that everything works out, which means when I'm sharing my screen up, I won't be able to see what you're saying. So if you want to ask something, please once again shout out. And I'm hoping that my sharing of my screen works out well. Oh, I see there's a question. Let me just quickly check something. Cake is made from the carbon deposit that remains after the tobacco has been smoked, 100%, and this lines the chamber and protects the wood from the pipe from the burning. Exactly. This buildup of carbon comes from the sugars in the tobacco as they burn. So creating a protective layer can also add hints of sweetness to your smoke. Raineed, you've hit it on the dot. That's exactly what I'm trying to explain to you. And I hope it's come across that way as well. But thank you very much for that. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to try and share my screen with you. You might see a little bit of a thingy happening, but I'm going to try and get through that very quickly. Okay. I'm hoping that everyone can see my screen at the moment. So what you'll be seeing is the pipe that I was showing you in this when I created the event. Now, this is a Scandia, which I've actually gotten from Quibus. Now, there's the pipe. I'm going to try and show you with my mouse. I'm hoping you can see, but there's almost just brine. Now, this is a estate pipe. It's not a brand new pipe, but I still felt like this is the way I was going to smoke this pipe, and I wanted to try and see if I could show you. So I'm going to go to the next picture. That is a side view of the pipe, and once again, having a look at the top here, you'll see that there's actually, it's almost pure briar right there. Let's go on to the next photo. Okay, now, once again, from the top view, and you'll notice that over here, it's pure briar. Now, I'm hoping that I can zoom in slow enough for you to, oh, that might have been a little bit too far. Okay, well, there you'll be able to see it. There's very, very little cake, and I've also scraped it out, but you'll see no real carbon layer. I'm hoping that is quite clear on the pictures. If it's not, please someone shout out. Here another photo which you'll see over here. No cake layer that has formed. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There you go. And in the next photo, I've tried to show you the riot at the bottom. And let's see if I can zoom in there as well. Okay, so there you can see right at the bottom. And I have got absolutely no carbon layer or cake layer going on there. Last picture. And once again, now you'll see there. Guys, I'm going to see if I can show you a quick video just as I am explaining. But once again, if something doesn't go right, please just shout out. So here's just a quick view of the pipe, as well as to try and show you the inside and that there's no carbon layering formed. Okay, I'm hoping that was quite easy way to see it. That is some pipe tobacco going in there. And can I tell you an absolutely horrible way to pack your pipe? So please don't ever do that. Just trying to see here. Oh, my video is now closed down. It's okay, I'll try and show you another video. Okay, if you have a look here, you'll see that I have packed my pipe and I've not packed it full. I've literally just packed it a quarter of the way. So here you can see all of the briar, and then right at the bottom, I've packed my pipe a quarter way. That, by the way, is Jock, and you know how much I enjoy Jock. Over here, once again, same thing, just to try and demonstrate that I have packed it a quarter of the way because there's most of the bowl is still empty. Okay, next photo, same thing, just another quick view. I am going to quickly go out of this. I thought that it would be a lot easier than what I've made it now, but I see that my computer's now decided not to play along. And then here is, I can show you that I've tried to actually light the pipe. Let's see if it comes out the way I've wanted it to. You know, everything always works so perfectly when you're doing it by yourself and at home. And as soon as you try and show someone else, it never works out quite the way you thought it would. So there's a match trying to get that pipe lit. Excellent. Okay, so now I smoke my pipe the way I would normally smoke it. I tamp it, I enjoy it, and I just have a good old pipe session. When I was done, here at the bottom, you can actually see my ash layer. Okay, I'm going to just once again just try and zoom in a little bit. Here is most of my bowl, and here is my ash layer. Now what I want you to immediately notice is above, you'll actually notice that I'm already starting to form a cake. You'll see the ash deposits around the side. Now, yes, ash is not carbon layering, don't get me wrong. I am going to be mentioning this quite a couple of times. Ash is not your carbon layer, but it does help when reducing the amount of heat that you've got. Okay, next picture. And again, you'll see that I've got my cake, my ash layer, which I've finished smoking, and the rest of the bowl. And already you'll see a couple of white speckles around as the ash has been tamped and moved around. Okay, let me see if I can go back to another video that I'd like to show you. Once you have done this, and you have finished smoking your pipe, I'm going to just see if I can just pause this for a second as it starts. There you can see, hopefully you can see that I'm shaking the pipe. I'm actually going to stop that for a moment. I actually want to just talk about that. As soon as you have got this ash layer, I leave the pipe until it is completely cooled down. I will then put my thumb over the entrance of the pipe, the bowl, right at the top, and I'll shake it as much as possible just to get all of the loose ash out. Okay, and that's exactly what this video is hopefully showing you, is I try and shake it and trying to get all the loose ash. I'll even try and show you my fingers. Now watch closely, you'll see some of the ash disappearing as I've shook it. Now, that's the first part. After I've done that, I will then dump some of the ash that has come loose. Once I've taken the loose ash, I then move over and I take my little tamper and my little tools, and I then try and gently just loosen the top ash, and I repeat the process again. Hopefully that shows you quickly. You know, technology is your friend and your foe at the same time. I'm sure Colin and I are at this stage feel the same way. Sorry about that, gents. I will get it up and running now, just so that you can have a quick look. There. I gently try and just open it now. I know on the video it doesn't look like I'm gently doing it, but I was trying to just tap it. And then as soon as it's loose, I do the process again. I put my thumb over and I shake it. And you'll immediately see, as soon as I'm done, you'll see all the ash build up on the side of the pipe. There, you can already see that. Once I've done that, I then dump it again. And I continue this process over and over and over again until the last little bits of ash is out. Now, every time I do that, I then try and see, is there any part that is unequal, or are there any unburnt pieces of tobacco that are lining the bowl? And I gently try and pick that out, and then I shake it again, and I gently try and pick it out until I've got a nice, even, smooth layer. Now, over here, I feel like you can actually quite see it nicely. This was when I had taken out all of my tobacco, and I shook it all around. You'll see right from the top to the bottom, I've got a nice equal spread of ash layer. Now, yes, it's not quite the carbon layer that we want, but this automatically helps in making a nice carbon layer when you smoke it over and over again. I'll try and show you the next picture. Same thing. I know it looks very similar, but I'm trying to show you that right from the top to the bottom, I've got this ash layer that is building on the side. And this helps me, especially with me, when I'm smoking my pipe, it absorbs some of the heat and it helps that carbon layer to grow nice and smooth. Okay, one last photo. I don't know if you can see, but on my thumb, that is the way my thumb looks every time I'm done trying to do this, because I've got this ash that is floating around. Now, I'd like to see if I can show you this last little picture here of a difference. On the left-hand side was when I pre-smoked it. On the right-hand side is after I've smoked it, and I've got all that ash going. I honestly believe that you'll be able to see this very clearly. And I personally feel like it shows you quite nicely what had happened. So let me see if I can stop sharing that, and hopefully you'll be able to see me again. Let's just wait for my screen to work with me. Okay. Was everyone able to see what I was trying to show? I'm hoping so. Can I get a thumbs up or something? Excellent. I'm happy with that. Okay. Now, once again, I'm not saying that this is the best way to do it or the ultimate way to do it or anything, but it helped me as a pipe smoker just to get a nice even cake layer. And it also made me a little bit more aware of what I was doing with my pipes and the way that my cake layer was forming. Now, they normally say that when you make a cake layer, you don't want a very thick cake layer. You want a very thin cake layer, just so that you can obviously still get tobacco in it and enjoy your smoke. So you almost want it to be the size of a 5-cent coin. Okay, not the round part, but on the side. So I think it's about 1 maybe to 2 mils is what you want on the side of your bowl when it comes to forming a cake layer. Now, guys, some people are going to automatically ask me, do I have to do this? Honestly, no. No one's saying you have to do it. I just find for myself it was the easiest way to do this. Now, there are other arguments. In the beginning, when I started smoking, or when I told you about the pipe, I said you had to pack it a quarter, half, 3/4 full. And I said to you, when I started, I smoked it from the top right to the bottom. If you're a new pipe smoker and you feel like you want to pack your pipe right to the top and then smoke it, and you only get halfway, that's fine. Eventually your cake is going to form. So no, you don't have to do quarter, half, 3/4, then full. You don't have to. But it's a nice way to start. If you are a pipe smoker and you only smoke half of your pipe, then eventually this over here is going to form a cake layer. So if you're only used to smoking a half a pipe and you pack it full every time, then you don't necessarily have to smoke it all the way through, or you don't need to have a cake layer at the bottom. Because if that's all you're going to smoke, then that's all the cake layer that you'll need. In my opinion, I feel like it's still eventually going to form a dottle, and sometimes you might smoke it full and then you might smoke it too hot. So I would prefer, in my opinion, to have a nice even cake layer right throughout the bowl, even if you're only going to smoke the top half. That's fine. But for me, I feel like I would rather have the cake layer formed right from the bottom and then smoke it up to there. Now, ladies and gents, that is all I had to say for today. Can I hear a little bit of feedback, a little bit of what you guys are talking about? What are your feelings? Do you disagree with me? Am I talking the uttermost nonsense? Let's hear. What do you guys say? Rainier, if
Ja,
you...
kyk,
Sorry, Colin, yes.
now while we're talking, not about the computer, you can have a double tap of your computer and search for internet. And while you were talking, you were basically echoing what is being said on the border says of smokers. That's why I got that comment for the cake bake. The cake is made in carbon deposits.
Okay.
So you echoing basically what everyone is saying out there.
Okay, excellent. Well, hopefully, look, I'm like I said, I'm no expert, but hopefully what they're saying and I'm saying, if it agrees, then I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, that sounds similar. Well
Okay,
done.
excellent. Have you ever tried smoking your bowl quarter, half, three-quarter, and full?
No, my pipe is too small. I can't. It's too small.
Okay, well then,
So,
so you're automatically smoking at a quarter. It doesn't matter what you do.
yeah.
No,
True.
but if you get a bigger pipe, I suggest trying it. Like I said, it's not a have to, but it really does give me a different experience when I'm smoking my pipe. Sorry, Colin, you wanted to say something. Colin, your mic is muted. So if you click on your screen at the bottom, there we go.
Is that better?
Perfect.
Is that okay? All right. Is that better? All right. Yeah, no, I wish a lot more pipe smokers were as careful as you've been. I mean, the basic information we try and give them, rather than say, "Oh my word, that's a lot of work," is just to take a finger and just flick your finger, pop it into the bottom of the pipe, so the cake is going to start to stick there, but definitely start way below for half full, so you get it right down to the bottom. And I mean, I've just got one of my customers has been telling me now how he's been through his pipe cleaner and what it was wearing away the bottom of the bowl. Hasn't gone right through it yet. But if he got his cape formed at the bottom there, you would know as soon as he gets past that, that's a danger zone. Stop. It'll reform. Just do go back to what you say. Only half fill it or even less than half fill. Do your own repair work on it. Just maintain that at the bottom. That is a crucial part because so many people forget that and dig down the bottom, dig everything away, and then it's raw, then it's going to give trouble. No, but well done. They're very good indeed. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. And I agree exactly with what you're saying. There's a lot of people on the internet that actually will tell you that when you are a first-time pipe smoker, when you're trying to get a nice carbon layer, the first thing that you need to do is rub honey all around the bowl and then smoke your pipe to get that carbon and that sugars. Now, as much as that probably does work, my opinion tells me that the sugars are going to get hot and eventually you're going to start making a syrup. And that's going to probably burn through your pipe a lot faster than making a bowl. Other people have told me, sorry, yes?
No. Well, I can remember when I was a very young man, people used to say the best way to burn or break your pipe in was to fill it up and then light it up, then hold it out the car window when you're driving, and let the wind do the job. Well, I mean that to me was like
Well,
putting a. Yeah, they don't seem to realize that puffing on the pipe is just like blowing bellows on a fire. And so you've got to do it gently to start with. So holding it outside the shop window, car window, not a good idea.
what you're saying is 100%. I've also actually spoken to someone that said they've done that and they've actually burned through their pipe because it also got
Absolutely.
so hot that it caused the blowout. And you know what? Then what was the point of buying an expensive pipe if you're going to damage it that way? And yes, look, we're all trying to find shortcuts instead of just enjoying the pipe.
Sure.
I
Absolutely.
see there's another comment here on the discussion. Just give me a second. I just want to see if I can read it. I agree with you. Need to season the pipe. Yeah, 100%, David. I completely agree with you. Guys, we all enjoy our pipe so much that to do silly things to break it down is just horrible. Now, I'm gonna see if I can do this. Just before I came onto the screen, David and I were talking a bit, and I once again packed the same pipe half. Now, unfortunately, you won't be able to see it because of the lighting on the screen. I'll see if I can give you a very silly. Yeah, it's very difficult to try and do it this way, so I do apologize. But anyway, what I was trying to say is, I then once again take it. I'll very gently pop it on the top, just to try and loosen it. I'll shake, and you'll actually notice that the tobacco falls out, and it does create a nice lining. Now, it might not do it all the way to the top because obviously your thumb gets in the way, but as you smoke your pipe, you'll actually notice the different ways it curves and bends. And I just find that I get the best out of my pipe that way. Is it the best way? Not saying that, but it surely works for me. Is there any other comments? Everyone happy? Anyone trying to? I know that Renier was saying that he's going to be smoking a cigarette today, as he is now running very, very low on pipe tobacco, and he's saving that for a special occasion, and hopefully that special occasion comes before the lockdown ends. So Renier, I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, well then, gents, if that's it, then I'm going to stop the session for YouTube. And then, yeah, we can quickly have a general discussion just after that. So give me a moment. And